Welcome to Dialogue. I'm Willy Bearden. Today we have a real treat for you. I'm in the studio here in Memphis with Coco, Carmel, and Bobby Whitlock. And you are in for a real treat today. We're going to have a good conversation, a lot of music, and some things that maybe you knew about these two folks and some things that maybe you didn't know. So we're going to get right into it. And I think my first question is to you, Bobby, and I got to know, why does love got to be so sad?
Oh, yeah. Well, to write the song.
Okay, that's good. That's good.
I really don't know about what I can't write about what I don't know about.
Right.
Whether it's a song or if I'm doing an interview or my book or whatever it may be. If it's something I don't know about, I have nothing to say about it. Right. Outside of that, it would be an opinion, and we know about those.
That's right.
So, yes. But why does love got to be so sad? Eric and I, we did most of our, Eric Clapton, we did most of our songwriting in his TV room at Hurtwood Edge. And one day we were just sitting around. He had a guitar, I had a yellow pad and pencil, and we were just knocking some ideas around. And we got to talking about our favorite subject, guitars and cars and girls, Mm-hmm. And the cars were like Ferraris, and the guitars were like Stratocasters, and rock and roll music, our kind of rock and roll music. And we had already written a couple of songs, and he turned to me, and because he was all caught up on his best friend's wife, George Harrison's wife, Patty Boyd, and he looked at me, he says, why does love got to be so sad anyway, Bobby? And I went, why has it got to be such a long song title,
That's a great story. How, at that point, I mean, you were really getting into your career, just kind of taking some major steps in your career at this point. When you were sitting there writing with Eric Clapton, did you see yourself as, hey, here's Bobby Whitlock from Memphis, writing songs with Eric Clapton?
I still don't see myself as that.
Really?
No, to me, rock and roll star, or anybody that was, Otis Redding was a big star to me.
Yeah.
And that was a huge star.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about Eric or the Beatles or the Rolling Stones or any of those people over there, because my focus was everything that was Stax. Right. So that's what I was interested in, get on up, Big Bird, knock on wood, and hold on, I'm coming. I mean, that Midnight Hour, that was where my roots were, and I played all of Booker's songs, Slim Jenkins Joint and everything. I mean, so I was a purist in a manner of speaking, and when time came for me to be with Delaney and Bonnie, we were doing just an offshoot of what I had been doing all my life, real rock and roll gospel feel, because that's my background, gospel background. And so it was like gospel rock and roll. And then Eric came into our orbit. We didn't go into his, he came into our orbit. And when he and I got together before the forming of the Dominoes, we were just hanging out, and he was a friend of mine. Mm-hmm.
So do you think, and I've thought about this before, do you think that maybe the English guys, George Harrison and all the people you were around at the time, do you think they were looking to you maybe for some credibility or some mojo? Because, when you think about it, this was not their normal rhythms. These weren't the normal sounds that they grew up around.
Check, and double check on that. Because, Eric Clapton had gospel, rock and roll, real rock and roll, and all that Stax R&B sitting in his living room and living in his house for nearly a year. Yeah. So he had all the influence, all of my influence. Certainly there was nothing, I was not into any music that he had ever been into, all those little pub songs and stuff. I was not into any of that, and Norman Wisdom songs and you know.
Sure, yeah.
You know, I'm bid on the corner of the street in a certain little. I mean, that's all Herman Hermit stuff, you know.
Yeah.
So their roots over in England weren't very deep at all.
Right.
You know, a good wind would blow them over.
Yeah.
But my roots, you know, my roots were real deep. You know,
Yeah.
my roots go back hundreds of years, you know.
Yeah.
And those old songs out in the fields, like we were talking earlier. Now, I remember folks in the fields singing to get through the day.
Right.
You know, I remember folks in the church down the road from my dad's church in Diaz, Arkansas. That's where the real music was, at the black folks' church. They was singing some serious songs, you know. And I believe that they were looking for that. As a matter of fact, when you were talking about George, when we were doing, we were the core band. Eric and Carl and Jim and myself, Jim Gordon and myself, were the core band for the All Things Must Pass album. Right. And I had never played piano. Organ player, and I learned to play pump organ at home.
Okay.
And my mom was a piano player. And playing organ and piano, that's just two different, it's like playing banjo and guitar. Just
really?
because you can play banjo don't mean you can play guitar and vice versa.
Right.
Well, Eric kept pushing me. He was really pushing me to play piano. And everything I do is rhythm anyway. I approach everything rhythmically. And but I just couldn't do it. I just couldn't bring myself to play piano because I was real comfortable behind my B3 because that's where I was home for me. That and singing, no problem. And when we went into start the All Things Must Pass sessions, there was a room probably as big as this room, and everybody that was that particular day that was going to be on the session was in that room, and we were all jamming. You know, and that was a way of getting to know each other. I didn't even know these guys' names. You know, I didn't have a clue who Gary Booker was or Annie Brooker or whatever his name is. I didn't have a clue who these people were. And we're all in there, and Eric said, "Get over on the piano, man." And so I went over and sat down on the piano, and we started this thing, and you can hear me in the very front of it, and I'm going clink, 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 and it's just and this is just a little rock and roll deal. It turned out to be in the Apple Jam of the box set, and that was the first time I ever played piano. Period. Really? And I was drawing on my influences like Memphis Slim, Jerry Lee, my mom, and gospel piano, and Fats Domino, you know, Little Richard. I was thinking of all that simplicity, and that's what my well was. And I didn't know that I had a well to draw from until I was in the middle of swimming around in it. Right. And I still play the same way, only it's a little more refined simplicity. Well, when we finished that little jam, George walked into the room, and he came over to me and he said, "Hey man, your dad was a minister, and can you play some gospel piano?" And I went, "Sure." So it's like that. And I got up and went into the main studio room at EMI and sat down, and we started to record Beware of Darkness. And when we did the first run through to learn the song, and I wanted it to be big, huge sound. And so I was laying everything I had into it. And I don't know that it was either the attack that I hit it, or that key or chi that they say was the karate and things. Just before the impact, there's an energy level. Well, the bottom C on that piano, when we started to do our second take, I hit it with my little finger, and right in the middle of the thing, and that string broke and went through the entire piano. Well, the string was as big around as my finger. And of course, the session came to a screeching halt, and they brought in a piano guy, and he took it out. He said, "I've never seen anything like that." And I was saying, "Well, you probably needed to change strings on that piano a long time ago." But when you listen to that song, it's got a definite resonance to the lower end. It's real clean. Well, it's got a brand new string on it. Right. That was the first song I ever recorded.
So here you are in a studio with a Beatle.
Yeah.
How much did that? I mean, you said you didn't really know a lot about it. I mean, obviously you knew something, but you were in there with a Beatle.
I didn't think about that. I was thought about George. He was a friend, and We were just there to make a great record. It was all about the music and not status and who we were or were not.
Right.
I remember one thing that Gary Booker come up to me and he said, because I was the first American to go back over to England, and then everybody kind of started, they kind of flocked, well, B-Dubs has gone to England, man, you know, and then, well, the word spread like wildfire, you know, and then Bobby Keys was showing up, and then Jim Price was showing up, and here come Jim Gordon, you know. Thank goodness, because that's the way things worked out. But when I went there, I was the very first one, and it was all about the music, all about the songs.
So they were kind of they were coming from a place of, I mean, did they tell you, we want to know what you know?
Not in so many words.
Right.
But
you
I knew that I was there to give what I had to offer.
Right.
I knew that there was a place there. Well, Gary Booker was saying, well, you guys from America coming over here taking our jobs. I said, no, I'm not a side man, so I wouldn't be taking your job.
Right. Well, that leads me to my next thing. You know, when we've been talking about doing this interview for several weeks and stuff, and I've been, you know, watching YouTube videos of you, and I got to tell you that from from Derek and the Dominoes playing the Johnny Cash show in what, 1970 or something, to you playing the Royal Albert Hall, you were always the show. I mean, it was like you kind of didn't care that Eric Clapton was on stage with you. You were the show. You were singing, and I really have not seen that from other people. I've got to tell you.
No.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Absolutely. Everybody else were playing it safe. You know, they wanted to keep their gig. They wanted to keep playing with Eric. You know, we'll do whatever he says, and just to keep our job. You know, just to be in the band. Yeah. And so, well, you can listen to all of his music since the Dominoes is pretty lackluster at best. You know, Autumn Leaves. You know, Lay Down Sally. I Shot the Sheriff. Instead of Why Does Love Gotta Be So Sad, and Tell the Truth, and Roll It Over, and great rock and roll song, Bell Bottom Blues, what a beautiful ballad. Yeah. You know, everything's strong. Even the ballads were strong. Thorn Tree in the Garden was a strong song. It was as strong as Layla, and it finished the whole record. You know, I knew that I had something to offer. But I didn't know exactly what that was. Yeah. It certainly wasn't keyboard expertise. outside of the B3, and I played all the Hammond organ on All Things Must Pass, with the exception of Behind That Locked Door, and that was Billy Preston. And I played all of the pump organ because nobody knew how to play it.
Okay.
But George had played me his songs before out at Friar Park, and I could hear organ on it, but not B3 on all of them. And I let it down. Of course, that really, you wanted a screaming B3 on it. But I heard pump organ, and I was the only one there that knew how to do it. And thanks to my mom, having that old pump organ in the house finally paid off, because I knew how to, you got to pump the bellows, and that has nothing to do with timing. And so the song might be in a whole different cadence, or, and you're pumping the bellows, so your feet are doing one thing to keep these bellows full, and your hands and head are doing something else to keep the song going.
Sure.
So not everyone was that dysfunctional.
Yeah, well, I understand what you're saying. That's an incredible thing, and I'm sure that they were amazed at what you were doing.
It worked for all those songs. If you were to take all the pump organ off of it, or hanging bells, I played the tubular bells. If you were to take anything I did out of anything that I've ever been a part of, it's just not the same. It doesn't ring true. You know, now they've gotten the technology so that they can divide up the tracks, and you can hear this guy and this guy over here. You can hear the bass and the drums, or the two guitars, and or without the organ, and it's just kind of. Well, that was a good example of that. Is Got to Get Better in a Little While, on the 40th anniversary. Before that came out, the Layla box set 40th anniversary. That was 5 years ago, because someone told me the other day that it's the 45th anniversary of it. Everybody else keeps up with that kind of thing. I don't. But when that song was the last song that we did as the Dominoes, and I wasn't on it because it was Eric and Jim Gordon. They had some kind of thing going on between the two of them, and it wasn't working. And I said, hey, look, man, you guys are, both of them are incredibly accomplished. He was an amazing drummer, and Eric was an amazing guitar player. And they were just having like this battle between the two, and Carl was over there playing away with the bass, and I didn't even see where I fit in. I said, I'm just going to step aside and let you guys get on with it. Y'all put it down. I'll come back later and do my piano and my organ and my vocal part. Well, the band broke up, like the next day or something, the next evening. And never did get around to finishing my part until they were getting ready to release the box set. And then Bill Levinson, who was the producer of the box set, asked me would I care to put my part on. I said, oh, right, really? Man, it may have taken like 40 years, but I finally get to. So we went out to, Coco and I went out to Willie Nelson's studio in Pedernales, and put on the piano and an organ, and I sang my verse and did my background part. But see, sometimes it takes a while like that.
I guess so, 40
to get
years.
It right.
It was Andy Johns that they used too.
Yeah, and they used Andy. That was probably one of the last things he did.
He sent us the tracks and put them up, and it was really cool to see all the tracks. You know, and back in those days, they would mix, because they didn't have more than 8 tracks, they would mix all the drums onto 2 tracks.
Right.
Which was something that I was used to, having been with Delaney. That's what we used to do as well.
Right.
And so to see those tracks with Jim Gordon, and you could isolate everybody, and it was really amazing.
I bet it was.
Cool
I bet that was a kind of a look back in history. It was, you know. So, what was the first thing you wrote? Did you just assume that since you could play that you could write?
No, I just.
Bobby's a natural born writer.
It just came to me. The first song, well, there was actually one called Walk Softly that I wrote when I was like 14.
Okay.
And just 2 chords. And then the other song, the next song I wrote was called Dreams of a Hobo, which is on my first solo record. Right. And the third song I ever wrote was Thorn Tree in the Garden.
You're kidding. The third song you ever wrote?
Thorn Tree in the Garden. And then the first rock and roll song I ever wrote was Where There's a Will, There's a Way.
That's what I'm talking about.
Wow. Okay.
This song we're talking about, Thorn Tree in the Garden, we're getting ready to do. I'll tell you the backstory on that. when I moved to California, living with Delaney, sleeping on his couch in Hawthorne, making $5 a night playing. Wow. That was it. We played 5 nights a week, and I was sleeping on his couch. And then finally I went to live at the plantation with Jimmy Carstein, J.J. Kell, and Patsy Camp lived out back in the garage. Jimmy Carstein, Indian Ed Davis, Chuck Blackwell drummer, me, and there was a couple of hookers living there in this house called the Plantation on Matilaha in the valley. Delaney lived 1 block down and 2 houses to the left. Carl lived about 6 blocks on down. And there was me. I had a round bed, and I had my little dog and my cat, Peaches. And anyways, like Carstein came to me one time and he said, "Hey man, you gotta do something about animals, man. We've got," because it's getting ready to go on the road anyway, you know, do that European tour. And I said, okay. I called Delaney, and Mama said she'd take Peaches, and so she got Peaches. And I don't know why he picked me up, but we took her Peaches out to Hawthorne and gave her to Mama to look after her. I came back and I was looking for my little dog, and I couldn't find my dog anywhere. Dude said, "Well, I got rid of her for you." So he had taken her off and dropped her off or given her some. I still to this day don't know what it was. It broke my heart. Yeah. I didn't know what to do. I felt like just punching him out, you know. And I just went back in my bedroom and cried and picked up my guitar and started playing like these 3 chords. And the song I was just thinking about, you know, snake in the woodpile and all that kind of stuff, you know. And then I thought to myself, there's a thorn tree in my garden. This is the guy, he's the thorn tree in my garden. And the song just fell out. And to this day, I've never written it down. I wrote it down on a piece of wood one time for somebody.
Really?
But I've never written it down. And it goes just like this. Thorn tree in the garden, if you know just what I mean. And I hate to hurt your feelings, but it's not the way it seems, 'cause I miss her. Still miss her. She's the only girl I've cared for, the only one I've known, and no one ever shared me. It all seems so strange, you see. She'd never turn her back on me, leave without a last goodbye. If she winds up walking the streets, loving every other man she meets, you'll be the one to answer mine. Lord, I hope it's not me. If I never see her face again, I never hold her hand, and if she's in somebody's arms, I'll understand, but I miss that girl. Oh Lord, I still miss that girl. Well, and maybe someday soon, some way, Yeah.
That is gorgeous. I'm glad I know the story now. I've of course listened to that song a million times, and I just got chills. I just got
That's
wow,
good.
incredible, incredible. That's so beautiful.
Thank you.
And I mean, you obviously have such a gift. And I mean, was it just, you know, that emotion that just came out?
Yeah, and the thing about that is that that emotion is still there. And so it's coming from the same place every time I do it, even 40-something years later. Right. It's still the same emotion. I don't have to go searching for something. If I'd have made something up, or tried to contrive something like they do in Nashville every day, there's no soul, there's no substance there. It's like I said earlier, I don't know, I can't, what I don't know about, I don't know, so I can't tell you or sing about it. And if I was to make something up, make some heart-wrenching song up, it wouldn't be that the next time I sang it, or the next time, or the next time. But if it's the truth, and it's just something that I know and I've lived that, it's going to be that every time. So every time I sing Thorn Tree in the Garden, I'm exactly there on the edge of my bed writing it. I'm exactly there the first time it just fell out. It takes me right back to that place. And then it takes me to sitting at the table saying, check this out, because one of these days I'm going to make a record one of these days, and the whole world's going to know that you're the thorn tree in my garden, without knowing that it was going to be on one of the most influential albums, or close the most influential albums of all time. You know, I didn't know that at the time, or I may have not said anything. But had I known what I was to become, it would have hindered me becoming who I am. Sure. And I had to have aspired to have some goal in life. I don't have a goal. I never had a goal. I didn't want to be a rock star or anything. It just turns out that I turn around and here I am. I am one, and that's who I am. Yeah. But I'm Bobby Whitlock from Memphis, Tennessee. I'll always be that, and I'll always have these things that I've done. I'll carry them along with me all the way through my life. And I just feel really blessed and fortunate that I am me, and that I have lived a life to sing and write songs and sing about, and to write a book about. I didn't plan on writing my book. It just happened. Yeah. You know, I had a cathartic experience. And that's what each one of my songs are, as a matter of fact. It would be like a cathartic experience, an outpouring. Right. And I didn't know what that word was until I found out about it, and that was what I was in the middle of. Sure, sure. You know,
it's amazing. I want to go back a little bit, because so when did you start playing in bands?
Well, when I was about 15, okay. 16 years old.
And you were living in Millington?
I was living in Millington, but I was living a lot with my big mama on Roseman. Okay. And Big Mama lived on Roseman, and Dewey Phillips' mama lived one street over and one house down behind, and he was at my Big Mama's house all the time. Okay. So he said, you need to get that boy to Nashville, you know, and he had a big hole in his leg from the war, he said, you know. Anyway, that's another story. But Dewey and I, we were friends since I was a little fella, you know. When I was, my first band was called Out of It, and it was Roy Yeager was the drummer, David Priola was a guitar player, played a red 335, and Bobby Sal played keyboards, and he played bass on the left hand, Brother Farfisa. He played, and Bobby Sal was keyboard, and I was playing stand-up chromatic harp. Really? Oh yeah, I picked up a harp in a junk store one time, and me and Stevie Wonder were best friends, right, just like that. Wow. Yeah.
And you were singing?
Yeah, I was standing up front singing. We sang the Royal and 60s Club and everything. Okay. Standing up there on top, upstairs. Yeah, you know? Right. Yeah. And but then they went from that. As a matter of fact, right down the street at Popular Tunes, I was standing, and I used to, on rainy Saturdays, Coco will tell you, I still go to town in Austin and go hang out. I make my trips around 2, 3 music stores in town, and just go hang out and pick up guitars and strum around. And I love it when it's raining. It's a good day for that. And just sit, chat with everybody, you know. But one day I was right here at Poplar Tunes, and I knew how to play Moon River with 3 fingers on the piano. That's the only piano that I knew, was Moon River with 3 fingers. And Stanley Cecil was playing in a band called Shortcuts. Had Eddie Harrison was singer, Bobby Fischer was saxophone player, keyboard player, Robert Murray played drums, the bass player was Stanley Cecil, and guitar player was Lonnie Lawson. And I was standing right down the road, and I was playing, you know, the whole thing. And Stanley walked up and he said, "Man, I didn't know you could play keyboards." He said, "Bobby Fischer has quit the band. We need a keyboard player. Can you play organ for our band?" I said, "Sure."
That's great.
I said, "Sure." And his mama lived right down here on Greer. If you go to the top where the Crystal is, take a right. And her house is about halfway down Greer, across from the park there. And he said, "Well, meet me at Mama's house on Wednesday." He said, "We got a gig at Fraser Skateland Saturday." And I went, "I'll be there." And this was like a Monday, and so, or something, this was Saturday. And so I went, come time to go to his house on Wednesday, I went early, and I told him, I said, because they were rehearsing upstairs, and I told him, I said, "Look, man, I got to fess up. I can't play. I can't play organ. But I know I can if you show me how to make a chord."
Right.
And he said, "Okay." And then he said, "You see that right there?" He said, "That's middle C." He said, "Put your thumb on that and put your first finger on this one, that's the E. And then put your third finger on that one, that's the G. And you do the same thing down there as the second position, and that's F. And here's the third one as your G. C, F, and G." And he says, "If you move this finger up here, that'll make it a 7th. You move this one up here, that'll make it a minor." And I went, "I got it."
Really?
And I sat down and started playing. Just like that.
Incredible.
I just started playing, and I still play the same way. Only I'm, like I said, I'm good at my simplicity, and the Hammond B3 I've become a part of the organ, and I'm a natural. The 2 things I'm a natural at, and that's singing and playing a Hammond B3.
Yeah. So you're doing this. You just pick this up. It's just natural for you. Y'all are out gigging, obviously, all the time. Right away. We're gigging. I mean, I was at Fraser Skateland playing all 30 songs that we had worked out. Wow.
You know, every one of them. Yeah, I didn't.
Were you singing then too? Did they let you sing?
No, I was pretty much playing, because Eddie Harrison had that covered.
Right.
He was dancing, man, Jackie Wilson, and forget about it. Michael Jackson wasn't even a thought in his mom and daddy's mind, and Eddie Harrison was dancing.
Yeah.
You know, so they had.
So where'd you go after that? I mean, you know, we're talking about, you know, you're what, 16 or something?
Yeah.
Or
when I was 17, Delaney and Bonnie came to town, and I was playing at the Cabaret Club with my band, and we were the Memphis Counts, because Tommy Burke and them had quit. Everybody had gone to be a dentist and all these things. Ed Hogue. And I'm in touch with Ed Hogue, and I'm going to be seeing him tomorrow night in Nashville. And but Delaney and Bonnie came to town. Duck and Don Nix brought them to town, and they were going to be like the next big thing at Stax. And they brought them into the Cabaret Club, and they said, "We're putting together a band, and would you like to be in it?" And I said, "Sure." I hadn't been past Texarkana, Texas, Pines Ballroom in Texarkana, Texas. And I hadn't been any further than that, and this was my opportunity to go, as they say, go Hollywood.
Yeah.
You know, it was my opportunity to get out of Memphis and spread my wings and fly.
What'd your mom say? I mean, when you went and told her, "Hey, guess what?"
What she said to me, well, see, I wasn't living at home then, because as soon as I got out of high school, the day after graduation, she made me a great big breakfast. And I mean, it was ham and eggs, and I mean, it was like her biscuits and all this, like sliced tomatoes and a a nice thing of iced tea, and still had my suitcase that she had bought me for Christmas was sitting by the back door. She told me, she said, if you just get out of high school, I'll take you downtown myself and drop you off. I just want you to get your diploma. And so I charmed my way through Millington High.
Right.
And I was singing and playing first chair drummer. I couldn't read a lick, you know. And after breakfast, she said, well, let's go. And I went, where are we going? She said, I'm going to drop you off downtown. Poplar and Stonewall. She gave me a $50 bill and a ham sandwich and kissed me goodbye. And I was off into the world. She put me out right there at Poplar and Stonewall, right down the road.
Wow.
And that was it. And I was off, and I had a roof over my head and a job, singing and playing that very day.
Yeah. Wow.
When Delaney and them came in, I was gone.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, so
I
you were
left.
just ready to get
I was
on the
ready to
road.
go.
Yeah.
Even if I was sleeping on his couch, it didn't matter.
Sure.
It gave me opportunity to. I kept my mouth shut and my eyes and ears open, except when I was singing. You know, I kept my. I knew I was surrounded by all of these great people: Leon Russell, Joe Cocker. I mean, all these, and Delaney Bradman. What a great talent he was.
Yeah.
And like I've said it many times, I learned more from that man than I could possibly ever recount.
Really?
Yeah. I told him one time, I said, man, you write great rock and roll songs. And I watched him write Coming Home and things. I watched him write it on the bus.
Yeah.
You know, and he had a headset on, and it was plugged into his guitar. And I hear him, he couldn't hear his guitar, but you could hear him up. Been out on the road, about 5 months too long. Yeah. I want you so bad, I can't hardly stand it. I'm so tired, I'm all alone. Gonna soon be together, and baby, that's why I'm coming home to your love. And that's all I could hear him doing up there in the front seat of the bus. And I'm sitting right here, and he was over there. And he said, hey, Bobby, put this on, you want to listen to it. Tell me what you think. And so he started playing and singing, and I took an ear off so I could hear his guitar, and it was killer. Yeah. And I said to him, I said, one time I said, when we got back, I said, how is it, I mean, I can write these ballads. I write all these ballads. How is it you write these great rock songs? He said, you can do it. He said, just put a different tempo, put a different feel to it, a little bit of a groove. I said, that's it. He said, that's it. Yeah. I went home and wrote Where There's a Will, There's a Way. Just like that. I was in a relationship. My first wife didn't say a word. You know, she cried when she was happy, cried when she was sad, and you know, she was crying all the time. You know, she didn't get the eggs right, she was crying and crying. Bless her heart. And Coco doesn't do it. I mean, she doesn't cry over scrambled eggs. You know?
I bet. Do you pray?
Only cries if I make them.
Right. Yeah.
That's not.
No, it's not true. I'm a good cook.
Yeah.
It just seems like it was such a natural thing for you, and it seems like you were so open to it. I mean, did you feel like that people were ultimately going to take care of you, like you were going off on the road with people, or did you feel like you could really take care of yourself?
I took care of myself all my life, and I worked to help feed my family, my mama, and that's when we were working in the fields. That was all about. The main theme of the day was what we're going to put on the table tonight. Right. You know, and you know what that living's about. So I've been looking after myself for all of my life that I can recall. And I didn't get an allowance or anything like that. You know, the only thing I was allowed to do was not get an allowance and get out there and mow a yard or do something. Yeah. You know, but no, I didn't feel like anybody was always long for a free ride on anything. When I went to be with Eric, I didn't have a whole lot of money in my pocket, and I was getting ready to leave, come back to America, and he said, thought we was going to put together a band, man. I went, perfect. And so we go into, you know, Robert Stigwood's office, and you know, I got 150 pounds a week, and I'd never seen that kind of money in my life. Right. And so, and we both got a draw. I'm sure he was getting money anyway, but I got a draw, and my life just started to take its. When we did All Things Must Pass, I didn't ask George for any money. We didn't make a deal. And one day, after we got through, he said, "Come outside. I got something for you." And he had 6,000 pounds cash money and handed it to me. He said, "That's for playing on my record." I went, wow, thank you. And I didn't want to expecting a dime. We didn't even talk about it. I hadn't even thought about any money.
Yeah.
Because it was such fun to play and be there and be a part of every one of those sessions except for the Pete Drake, and I went anyway.
Sure.
And that was my idea too. That when they were listening back to All Things Must Pass, and I was standing down there and I did that, and I went. And Phil Spector said, "Who's that?" And I thought, oh man, I think it was me. I thought he was going to get out of here. And they said, go out there and get behind that microphone and do that. And I went out there and did it. And I said, this is not what you want. You need to get Pete Drake to do this. And it wasn't a week later that Pete Drake was in town, and they had 2 session dates booked for Pete to put my whistle parts on. Wow. But see, I didn't go at it to make money, and I've never been in the music business to make money. I was in it to make music. I mean, when we moved to Austin, Ian McLagan, who, bless his heart, he's not around anymore, he was a friend for many years, and the only other B3 player in Austin, and I wasn't thinking about coming and moving anybody and knocking them out of a gig, whether it be rock star status in the community or what. I'm just, Coco and he was trying to dissuade us from coming down there. He said, well, you know you can't make any money down here, you know. And I said, I'm not coming to make any money. I want to come and play some music. This is all we're about. You know, if you tend to your garden, if you look after your tree, the fruit will come, you know. If you tend to that, all this other stuff comes, and then it goes, just like your apples. It goes, the money goes, okay? Yeah. And if you don't do something constructive with it, it'll, just like the apples, if you don't pick them, they'll rot. If you have the money laying there and doing nothing with it, giving it away, do something benevolent with it, it'll go too.
Yeah, yeah.
It too will rot.
Right. Well, and that leads me to this. For many years, you weren't credited on the song Bell Bottom Blues.
Yeah, this is true.
What happened there? I mean, did you, and maybe there's another part to the question, did you know about, you know, the publishing business and actually how people made a living in the music business?
I didn't know about that. I even lived in England, and I didn't know you made money with BMI and ASCAP until I came back from England to America. And I found out the IRS had been taking a bunch of money from BMI, and I went, what's that got to do with me? And they said, what's your money? I went, really? I didn't know about all that, you know. Yeah. I had no clue about it. But with there was no accident that had I been credited on that, I would have had more songs on the Layla record than Eric had. And Robert Stigwood was not going to let that happen. Well, there's nothing I could do about it. I went to Roger Forrester, who was Robert's right-hand guy, who later turned out to be Eric's manager as well. And I said, hey, I wrote this. You know, do you want to see me crawl across the floor to you? You want to hear me beg you to take me back? Yeah. I mean, is that Otis Redding or what? You know? He said, no, man, there ain't go. You just forget about it. And this is after the record came out. I just, you know, I went, hey, my name's not on Bell Bottom Blues. Well, and it said, don't upset Eric. You know, it was all about don't upset Eric, don't upset Eric. Nobody upsets Eric. You know, so he's lived his life the way he wanted, by his own rules, right or wrong. And I didn't go to him, and I did what they asked me to do. Don't go to Eric and upset him with it. Well, I could really care less about him being upset. And so somebody had, I mentioned on George Klein's show here a while back, about someone had asked about, was it a song written about some bell-bottom jeans? And it was that and a girl that he was hooked up with in France when we went to France and came back. And so I thought it was about. And then I remembered, oh yeah, Patty asked him to get those landlubbers in Miami. But I wrote back to Eric, and I sent it to him and his 2 attorneys, Michael Eaton and Martin Decker. And sent it at the same time, and I said, just to refresh your memory, here's how it happened. I was standing in the doorway of the TV room, and you came up with your guitar, and you And he said, I said, do you remember, you sang me the first 2 verses all but the last line of the second verse? And I said, and I came up with it, and then the same thing, and then we went right back into the TV room, finished the chorus, and you did the thing, I don't want to fade away, and then the same thing with the third verse, you won't find a better loser, I came up with that line. And he went, he's right, meaning me. He was so excited to say that he had been thinking about this, that he sent me his reply that was going to his attorneys to me. Mm-hmm. And then he wrote back to me, he said, sorry for getting any discrepancies. The he's right, that meant you were right, and I'll make this right for you. So, and he has. He tried his very best to make it as right as he could, as he was allowed to make it. But from now on, it's credited as Eric and Bobby writing it. So,
as it should be.
Yeah.
Well, I want to hear some more. While I've got you here, I want to hear some more music because that was. What would you like to play?
Well, the other day I was talking about why does love got to be so sad, and started playing Keep On Growing.
Right.
But today we talked about why does love got to be so sad.
Right.
And when Eric started to play it, he went. And I said, move it up here.
Yeah, right, yeah, sure.
And it worked. Hello. Gotta find me a way, get me back to yesterday. I'm gonna ever forget you. Won't you show me a place Why does love got to be so sad?
Wow. You know what? I see why this works. I mean, between you two, that's it's a very it's a very natural. I mean, it's just like the most natural thing.
Yeah,
you know. I mean, y'all are like in sync.
I sprung a new one on her though the other day because I realized suddenly I'm not singing the melody. The right. Why does love got to be so sad?
Right.
And we've been singing it another way. Well, I'm just what comes natural. And I said the other day, I said, no, we probably ought to sing the melody the way it really is or was, and so get in between. But we watch each other and we listen.
Sure, yeah.
You know, and it's a relationship of it just goes just like that. You know, so we're in the flow.
So evident. I mean, it's just it's strong. It's very powerful. What you know, when you look back on your career, what's some good advice? I mean, did people give you good advice and did you listen?
No one ever gave me any advice, period. And the key to it all is that one word you just said, listen.
Yeah.
That's, anybody ever asked me for some advice for a musician or player or writer or listen. That's why Coco and I work so well together. It's because we're in tune with each other. We listen to each other. When she's on one end of the neck, I'm down here. Or when I'm down here, she's there.
Right.
You know, and when we're here, when she's playing a different configuration of a chord that I'm playing, it makes it sound bigger.
Yes.
But the whole thing is about listening. With the Dominoes, we did. I mean, but see, Eric and Jim and I had been playing together for a couple of years. And I mean, Carl and Jim and I. And Eric played in our band for a little while, but us as a rhythm section, we'd been together, and so we were all dialed in.
Yeah.
And I knew to listen. You know, I knew to do that.
Right.
You know,
mere mortals don't understand what it's like to stand there and play with people and look in their eyes and know where they're going and not maybe be really sure. That's a dynamic that most people can never really understand. Can you explain it? I mean, what is that? When you know what it is. I mean, when you're there playing and you're not exactly sure where somebody's going.
You can feel it coming.
Yeah,
it's more a feeling than a visual.
Yeah.
Because where you Stevie Wonder, Ray Charles, you wouldn't be able to see it coming, you know.
Right.
But you can feel it coming.
Yeah.
And when I lived in Ireland, I used to go down every week or so down to the pub, and when they have a playing, and there'd be playing the barons and all the, you know, the bones and all this, and the fiddles and all that stuff. And they'd be playing the jig, and it's like they started playing, and this thing got locked in. You know, and I mean, they've got this thing going, and I mean, we're talking, cooking, man.
Yeah.
And then this thing would go on for, you know, like 9, 12 minutes, something. It's like, and then suddenly it would go, and I was like, how do you know? How does everybody? And they're not looking at each other at all.
Yeah.
And Dan Larkin, he's left the scene now. He was a good friend, and he played with the Scottish Fiddle Orchestra, but and lived in Ireland. But he told me, he says, "Aye, that's the Morris Minor. You can hear it coming." That's what he told me. It's the Morris Minor, Bobby. You can hear it coming.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love that.
So it's a feeling. You know, it's a feeling. You can hear it, and you can hear the buildup, and you can hear it just like when the water's getting ready to go over the precipice of the fall, you know.
Yeah. Is that the magic of being a musician?
I would think so.
Yeah.
A part of it.
Yeah.
It's all feeling anyway.
Yeah. How do you want to be remembered?
Fondly.
Good. I think you got that here. I think you got that here.
Know that I've never lied, cheated, and stole nothing from anybody. And never wanted anything from anybody, and I've just only come to give. And I guess that would probably be close enough to know that what I've ever told is the truth in song and straight up and down. Because I know a lot of it's got to sound like it's got to be preposterous, you know. But no, it's true. I've lived a life to sing and write about. And I think that that's something worthy and worthwhile, is to live a life that is whole and full and rich with character, you know. Not he's such a character, but he's got a lot of character, you know.
Well, I think you're doing that, and I'm just glad that you're here doing that. I'm glad you're both here. I'm glad that we've been able to spend this time together today. This has really been a lot of fun for me, and I told you earlier before we started this that I really had to kind of hold back and not have a big conversation with you 2 weeks ago, because I wanted to kind of, you know, this is Voyage of Discovery. Yeah. And it's a wonderful thing, you know, that we can talk, you know, about, you know, your career, which has been an incredible career, and it's been an incredible journey and story, you know, and share this then with people out here who get to watch this. And this, you know, this show will be in the library forever. So maybe somebody in 100 years ago, you're not going to believe what I found in the library.
Oh, that's fantastic.
You know,
well, see, my career, that was my solo career. And now it's like taking a whole other, it took all of that to get to this place where Coco and I are.
Exactly.
And now this is a whole other career. Yeah. I mean, this whole, what we're doing is no one has done this. Not Ike and Tina, nobody has ever done what Coco and I are doing. Yeah. And for me, this is like a new life, a new lease on life, a new career. Yeah. And we weren't even doing it to have a career. We were doing it because that's what we do. Yeah.
Well, this has been great. Thank you so much for being here. Have a great time. I know you guys have a great time every day, just out being yourselves. And I hope our paths will cross again, and many more times. And this has been a really, you know, a delightful day for me to be able to spend with y'all and to hear your stories and to hear your beautiful music. So
thanks, Willie.
Thanks so much for being here.